My family and I moved to America from the country of Sudan when I was 6 years of age. Because I was so much younger than my two older sisters, I picked up on the customs, the new language, and the changes here pretty quickly. Right around the time I was in middle school and began fitting into a social circle, I found myself slowly pulling away from my culture and my home country. And it wasn't because I was forgetting it or because I was in this new land, but because I was scared and ashamed and embarrassed. I remember after 9/11 happened, the world around me had this newfound hatred and fear towards the Arab world. It was terrifying and confusing, and I automatically began hiding away all aspects of myself that even remotely resembled being from an Arab country. I never spoke Arabic around my friends, never mentioned my religion, never even shared stories of my home country. I just hid it all away in public, and I loved the feeling of acceptance. Deep down, however, I was scared and I was hurting. Of course, I grew up, and that scared, ashamed little middle school girl started to fade away. I always wondered, however, if there were others my age at the time who felt the same way, and would it have made a difference to see and be around those people? Would I have been able to embrace and be comfortable with myself a lot sooner? Fast forwarding to a year ago, and I'm a graduate student, and through a mentor of mine, I hear about this program being funded by the YMCA, a program aimed at helping incoming citizens, refugees, and immigrants in the Henrico area. I was stunned. My mind immediately took me back to my teenage years, and a deep connection was made. After that, it didn't really take much for me to reach out to the program coordinator, hear back, and immediately get involved. Many people here have probably had a moment or an event or something in their life that they proclaim to be life-changing. Well, the STAR program has been that for me, life-changing. Strengthening Teens Academically and Recreationally, better known as STAR, is an after-school program offering tutoring, English language assistance, and recreational activities to immigrants and refugee students. I was introduced to new students who reminded me of my middle school self. Unlike myself, they walked the world with more confidence. What they had, however, was fear. Fear of opening up, fear of being vulnerable to new people, and fear of not belonging. I walked into a room of about 35 kids, each separated by their backgrounds. They spoke only in their native language and didn't mingle with other groups. There was a clear divide, and I knew that I had a responsibility to help change that. I owed these kids, and I owed my middle school self. We introduced them to talents they never knew they had, careers they never knew they could have, people they never knew they would meet, and an amazing group of volunteers who became their new mentors and friends in life. Rather than shy away from where they came from like I did, these kids grew bonds and connections with others in similar situations. These kids came from Colombia, where they witnessed violence and drug usage daily, Iraq, where their family members feared for their lives, Egypt in the midst of uprisings, Sudan surrounded by famine and homelessness, Somalia in the heart of war, and so many other tragedy-stricken countries. To having them meet with a neurologist and see the sparkle in their eyes as they asked questions was mesmerizing. To having them meet and greet with the VCU soccer coach and staff and hear the awe and amazement in their voice was breathtaking. To introducing them to new forms of art and music and watching them passionately throw themselves into it was hypnotic. To see, help, and introducing them to what they never thought possible in their own countries was life-changing. The change that occurred in these kids within a matter of months was earth-shattering. The one student who only spoke in French with his favorite volunteer began to open up and speak in English, and to my surprise, he was not only capable, but amazing at it. The lonely girl from day one who wore a hijab and was swallowed in her art book became a social butterfly. The 13-year-old boy who acted tough and shrugged away any emotions or sense of empathy slowly broke down his walls and shared of his difficult, heartbreaking home situation. And with each change that occurred in these children, I realized that this is what I needed at their age. This is where I would have felt a sense of belonging, and this is where I could have learned to love and embrace myself. In the state of Virginia alone, immigrants and refugees make up 12% of the entire population. 1 in 6 workers is an immigrant. They hold the highest population working in STEM fields, and nearly 50% of all Virginia business owners are immigrants or refugees. Immigrants today are planting down roots across America and helping to maintain our foundation. Compared to native-born Americans, they are more likely to attend college, earn high-paying jobs, and become future homeowners. They hold 2/3 of major highly recognizable careers such as teachers, lawyers, doctors, nurses, and scientists. Now imagine if we had more programs and practices that stimulated this success at a young age, rather than making them feel unwanted and unsafe, rather than only telling them that this isn't their country and they don't belong. Think of what more can emerge from people who were given stability and safety and encouragement at a young age. In a current state where the world is telling us that immigrants and refugees and foreigners don't matter and programs such as this don't matter, I am standing here today and proclaiming that as a lie. If you have the opportunity to seek out and help others, such as my middle school self and others like these kids, do so. I challenge you to not let the opinions of what the world has change how you make an impact and leave a footprint. You single-handedly have the power to help change the lives of these younger generations. Myself and all these other kids coming to a new world where we know nothing and no one. Rather than hide away like I did, they should have the support of those around them to help with this transition. I know I was given a gift by recognizing myself in these younger kids and seeing firsthand the amazing changes that occur when they are given the tools to go out into the world with confidence. The immigrant and refugee crisis is happening daily in plain view. Take a stand. It starts with these younger generations of kids whom we have the power to help mold to becoming these doctors and engineers and lawyers. I know the world is constantly advocating for the power of youth programs and the power of volunteering, and it may seem overwhelming until you have the opportunity to help change a life. Because they are in America does not mean they feel American, and because they are in a new location does not mean they feel at home. Since the beginning of my work with the STAR program, I constantly reflect back on how much I have changed and learned to love and embrace myself, my past, my culture, my religion, my identity. And I never thought I would be where I am today. That same ashamed and scared little middle school girl stands before you now. I have chosen to go against the perceptions of what the world has on immigrants and refugees and set down my own roots. And you all have the opportunity to grant all these other kids, such as myself, that same chance. Thank you.